Coming at you from New Jersey, the capital of misery, the place where metal forgot to die.
This is the Here Lies Metal Too Many Notes new music review. I'm Samantha.
And I am Maledictus, and we shall be your overlords for today and all of eternity. Welcome. What is going on today?
It's Plaid Day.
Oh yeah, we shop at the same store.
It's Sub-Zero here in New Jersey, so we're in Plaid. And we are here to talk about the album by, apologies, Stangarigel.
I would have never thought I said that.
And we're just going to go straight to the our friend, the Google Translate woman.
That's there.
Na severe srdca. Now you say it.
Not so very srdca.
Very good. So, Stangarigel, if there's any Slovakians who just happen to be watching this, please let me know how to pronounce this, as well as Malakarpan, by the way. But this is a black metal band, I'm going to say atmospheric black metal band from Bratislava, Slovakia. It's a two-piece, and it features Stalagnat on vocals and drums, and Lysovic on guitars, bass, and keyboards. But Lysovic is the main creative force behind Malakarpan. Stalagnat is not confirmed. I believe he's also one of his collaborators on Malakarpan. Of course, I'll probably turn out to be wrong now that I said it aloud, but I just feel like I think he did the vocals on the last Malakarpan album. Sounds similar to me.
Is Stalagnat like a part of a cave? You know, like is a stalactite?
It's like a stalactite. I did look up the name.
Yeah.
I could not find out what it was. So maybe it's some secret Slovakian or Slavic thing.
Yeah, there's
but I did find out what a Lysovic is.
What is that?
So it's also called a. We'll show the graphic here.
Graphics
Of the Lesnik, also known as a Lesnik or Leshi or Lysovic.
There's so many words for this one thing.
Could you read this passage for us, Maledictus?
Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, a Lesnik, a Leshi, or Lysovic. Well, which one is it? I mean, is it separate?
It's probably different in different countries.
Yeah, right. We're different
Right,
Slavic
keep it moving.
countries. Is a creature known in all Slavic countries. That means all of them. His wife is called Lesovica, and his role was to protect the forests and wildlife that inhabited them. So he's like an environmentalist. Now, he could change his size from a little blade of grass to the tallest tree. So that's very,
You should be reading this in a Slavic voice.
Oh, okay. He had the blue cheeks because of his blue blood, and pale skin, hair, and beard created from grass and vines, and the vivid green eyes. The Slavs thought that the migrations of the animals were actually Lesnik's orders, so when the birds go south, Lesnik told them to. If human befriends Lesnik, they could learn everything about magic. Farmers and shepherds usually made a pact with him so they can take care of the animals in the farms. Well, he's got to do that for you. Lesnik is known so he could lead people the wrong way in the forest, so you get lost in the forest, and he could tickle them to death. That's his power. What's his magic power?
That's his
tickles
only.
you to death.
His only attack is to tickle.
All right,
to
that
death.
seems that to death though. That's like if you
keep moving.
Okay. Where he could tickle them to death, and he had the habit to wear their clothes upside down so they won't get lost. I don't know how that's going to help. In two Lesiki, two different ones, that's plural for Lesnik, Lenziki, Lesniki, meet each other, they could wreak havoc upon the forest, destroying trees and make animals scared. Right. So they're not compatible with each other, they're loners.
So I apologize for this segue, but I do think it's an important lens through which to view this album. This guy took on the name of this creature, and it's a good way to enter this album. We'll get the cover later, but that's a Lysovic on the album cover. We also have a short mission statement.
Yeah.
I'll only read part of it. It said, reawakening a spirit mostly lost in the scene since the 90s. Na severe srdca harks back to the era inspired by 19th century romanticism, once spearheaded by albums such as The Shadow Throne and Bergtot, which I believe is Satyricon and Ulfr.
Based on this information, this folklore, Slovakia seems like a silly place. Let's not go there.
Well, let's get into the actual review.
Yeah.
If you're
The
still with
the actual
us.
music. So now let's get to the rating. It's now time for the Here Lies Metal 5-point bidirectional classification scale, including the categories of genre loyalty, listenability, production style, musical complexity, and just plain fun. Please note that either N means good or bad. Let's continue. So we have scale number 1, true or nonconformist. Where are we?
I'm going to give this a 1, perhaps a 1.5 for very true. I just read that mission statement, and we're definitely getting it. This is definitely some atmospheric black metal. We've got the black metal riffs, there's synths, a lot of different synth noises, very enjoyable, mostly kind of mid-tempo and stately, not insane black metal at all. A lot of nice melodic folk elements, but there is that pure, harsh black metal vocal throughout, and they have those harsher, more intense and aggressive blast beat black metal sections here and there. I do also want to say, I mentioned this guy's from Malakarpatan. I hear a lot of Malakarpatan, particularly in the riffs, so even though they invoked the Shadow Throne and Bergtot, this does not sound exactly like Satyricon, certainly. Sounds a bit more like Ulver to me, but there's none of that clean singing sections. And because he's bringing that kind of Malakarpatan flavor where he's got kind of his own distinct kind of way of doing his riffs and the samples that he uses, it's definitely like a more pure black metal bent on Malakarpatan. So if you like Malakarpatan, I would definitely check this out. And the only reason I would, but again, this is definitely a 1. So it's an achievement in creating a 1 for true atmospheric black metal. That has its own unique sound. He's not aping completely those two kind of influential albums that he listed. The only reason I said like 1.5 maybe is like on the 5th songs, I feel like he leans a bit more into almost like a heavy metal feel, just like slightly, just like a slight tinge of it, where it's getting a little bit more Malakarpatan kind of weirdness, but overall very black metal, and yeah, it was very nice.
Next scale, Sonic Terror versus Distorted Pop. What do we have?
I'm going to give this a 2.5 on the Sonic Terror side, but obviously very high into the listenability side of it, like almost listenable. Being that it's black metal, it kind of has to be Sonic Terror. It's got that harsh vocal throughout the whole thing. It does have those intense and aggressive black metal sections. But it also is, I would say, the linear songwriting on it as well, where it's like very like it's written in parts, and it's kind of like it's a feeling of like the album feels like a journey of confusion, like it's the Listovic leading you deep into the forest where he will tickle you to death. But what's making it a nice and very enjoyable listen, and very pleasant black metal, the most pleasant I think it can get, is it's just dripping in these folk elements. Even in the harder riffs, and then it drops out into just kind of a lot of pure atmosphere, just melodic sections. And it's just very nice. It's very haunting and mystical, these synth lines, nice synth sounds. It's nice. And the riffs are all engaging, and though they all are constrained within the black metal style, they're varied, and there's a lot of diversity in sounds between the synths and the guitars and the various percussion instruments. So it's just very interesting and fun to listen to.
Yes, anything about a forest-dwelling hippie that tickles you to death cannot be total Sonic Terror. It's not possible. You got to take points away from Sonic Terror just because of that theme. So that's my opinion on that.
Okay, for our next scale, Fisher Price to high production, where are we, Maledictus?
All right, so this is complicated. So because it's like obviously this album is, if you listen to it, it's far from necro. I mean, far from that. However, there's a lot going on in it. And when you have a lot going on, it's difficult to also, consider it Fisher Price, putting just a microphone in the middle of a room. There's a lot going on. It's kind of a wall of sound, but it's a very like darkish kind of sound. It's kind of hard to make out specific instruments since there's so much like sound going on in it from different sources. It almost kind of overwhelms you a little bit.
I mean, I feel like you can make out certain things very clearly. Like those bells and a lot of the guitar lines, but stuff like the drums and the bass.
Yeah, I wanted to point out the lower frequency stuff, the rhythm section stuff is very muddy and dark. So, I mean, I don't know if that was intent. It kind of works with the theme of it, though.
Yeah, I like to think of it like the drums are, as you're going into the forest, the drums are in the distance.
Yeah. I think that was EQ'd like that on purpose. I don't imagine that's a mistake.
See, the drums are either a mark of how far deep you've gone into the forest, you can't hear the drums anymore. And maybe you're wondering if you should stop following this forest creature.
Yeah, it's like how you'd hear something in the forest. I think he really thought of that specifically and did that on purpose. But yeah, when you have like just the wall of sound is very impressive. That gives it a lot of points for production because that's kind of very challenging to make it such a thick sound, such a robust sound to me.
Sound very good.
Yeah, to me that's kind of a thing there. So yeah, so I give that 3.5. In the middle. It's in the middle. I can't give
hard
it
to say
too high because issues, but yeah, otherwise it's better than not good. It's better than not good sound. So yeah. Next is, are there enough notes or too many notes? What do we have here?
I'm gonna say 4 for too many notes.
That's a decent amount of notes.
There's a lot of notes. I wouldn't say it's not like there's like a guitar god happening on here or any like particular performance that's standing out. It's really just the layers of sound happening. It's like a dense undergrowth of guitars and synth and percussion noises. Every element of this band is moving and doing something interesting throughout the whole thing. And it's the product of only 2 guys. So it has this kind of arranged and compositional quality to it, which I think, it's a lot of notes.
Yeah, the song structures are not typical. They're like a lot of songs are kind of cyclical, like verse, chorus, back around again, then end the song. But these songs are more like linear and like movements. It's like a different movement. Then it's this movement, then like short movements of just kind of like a line that might not necessarily reverse back to another riff on a lot of songs. So yes, not a really conventional thing. And I think that just takes to write a song unconventionally kind of takes a little bit more brain power, I think, or thinking outside the box. So yeah, I would agree. 4 on that.
And I feel like they had so much attention to detail on this. Like every moment of this album sound like they put a thought into like what sounds were on it. And there's so many sounds happening at once.
Yeah, and there's a huge emphasis on atmosphere. So that just takes sitting at the board there and making sure everything is at the right levels and such. Yeah, that's a lot of that's a lot of thinking there and production. Production as well as composition. So yeah. Next is fun. Is it fun or is it focused? Where are we?
I'm kind of not sure. I'm going to give it a 3.5 on the focus side. Black metal is often serious. And this album, a lot of the riffs and atmospheres is kind of melancholic, kind of sad sounding, or like bittersweet maybe. But it also has a feel of like mystic wonder and adventure. We're following the Slavic. We don't know where it's going, but it's kind of exciting. And the last song is like kind of joyful, I would say. It's got a major theme to it. But as far as lyrical themes, I did translate the song titles, but I really couldn't make much of it. By the way, this album title, I think, translate as per Google Translate, in the north of the heart. I feel like that's got to be an incorrect translation. Obviously with this album cover and the alias chosen for this band, Slav folklore is our main subject matter as well as nature. And so that's kind of much more fun, much more lighter theme than your typical like Satan.
Yeah, some Satan in this at all. It's different thing.
It's your nature black metal. It's your folklore black metal, which I think it's serious, but it's not self-serious like a lot of those Satan bands. So I'm gonna give it this middle score of like focused, but not not too focused. Also, the album ends on a gong.
Oh, yeah, I think more people need to do that.
So I think that's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. That's kind of fun points.
That's a forgotten art where you end a song, an epic song, and all these songs are kind of epic with a gong.
Oh, another note is there was a note that song 6 lyrics are based on a poem by Jan Boto.
Who's that?
Who was a 19th century Slovak poet and one of the most important poets of Slovak Romanticism.
There you go.
He's a hero.
A warrior poet.
I don't know if he was a romanticism poet, so he wrote about nature probably.
A warrior, like he's like a hippie poet. But there you go, guys. Malachi Cotton, we figured out your thing there.
So maybe that's more something on the serious side. We're quoting poets.
Yeah, I think you got to be into that. Like be like somebody here writing an album about Mark Twain or something.
What do you think? Right? Do you think it's fun or focused?
I think in this situation it's focused. I mean, I think they're taking it very serious. I think it's very dear to them and their Slovakian culture. I don't think they're really having fun with it, you know. So yeah, I think it's focused. Anyway, what's next?
All right. We'll talk about the album art now. It was uncredited by the band. I did a reverse image search on it, and it's a painting as per a wiki page I found about Slav folklore by N.N. Brute, who I could not find any info on, but apparently it was painted in 1906, so it's an older painting.
Yeah. So this guy looks, he doesn't look like he looks very paranoid, like he's seen something. He's like, "You, what are you doing in my forest?" He's not like, "Ba ba 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 ba."
I think he looks like a little bit kind of feral, like half crazed.
Yeah, he's definitely crazed. Like he's got crazy eyes.
Like you have no idea what he's gonna do to you. Like you cannot interpret his intent. He has found you in the forest.
Yeah, he's like, "What are you doing in my forest?" And right now he's in his big form because he's almost as tall as these trees here.
Well,
so.
I mean, yeah, he can shapeshift, but I can imagine if you're just chilling, you're gonna probably just be really big.
I imagine he walking around the forest without any clothes on. He's got no clothes
definitely
on.
naked.
And he just wears pine cones in his hair. It looks like pine cones in his hair. And he's got a long beard, and he's like, "You." He's like he looks like astounded that you're in his forest. He's like, "You really fucking came into my forest? Are you kidding me? What am I gonna do with you? I think I'm gonna have to tickle you.
Like, you better not try to befriend me and
learn.
learn.
I'm gonna tickle you.
I'm not. I'm not interested in teaching any magic today.
He's like a giant on Skyrim. Like your giants, you kind of have to mind your own business. You kind of got to let them do their own thing. If you attack them, like they'll literally like hit you into the sky. Like they'll hit you with their club, and your character will literally fly into the sky because he hits you so hard. I don't know if you've ever been hit by a giant on Skyrim, but that's what happens. This is with this guy, but he doesn't have a club though. He's just gonna tickle you. But it's like a similar concept. Just leave him alone. Just don't fuck with him. That's my take on this guy.
Anyway, so obviously the band, they just found an old painting and they kind of recolored it green here for their album cover. But I do like this painting a lot. Just the look on his face, I feel like I could stare into his eyes for hours. And that's how I feel a lot of the time, too. I can identify with the Slavic.
Now, is this an actual painting of the Slavic, or is it just something like
yes,
this? Yes,
the Slavic is a real thing.
Okay.
And this unknown artist saw it. And
okay. Yeah, he probably saw it, right? I mean, he remembers it. I have no doubt that he saw it. I have really no doubt that he saw it. I think he did see it because this thing is so detailed. I mean, how can you imagine this? He's definitely seen it. Maybe it died back then and like it's not around anymore. And they're like, like no one's seen it in a while. Maybe has the guys from Malaga? Have you guys, the guys in this band, have you seen it?
Well, one of them is one.
Oh, you consider yourself one. Okay, that's fair. You could do that. That's fine. I mean, you could be it. You could take its place. I have no problem with that. So you could identify as it, the Slavic. So yeah.
Okay. In conclusion, I obviously checked this album out because I love Malak Karpatan, one of my favorite bands. So it's definitely going to check it out. Even though I'm not a huge black metal fan and definitely not a huge atmospheric black metal fan, it's very like touch and go. Some stuff I love and some stuff I don't. So I'm very glad to report I did love this album, and it's got that Malak Karpatan feel, but without kind of like the insane genre meshing that Malak Karpatan does. It is just straight black metal.
Yeah, it's gonna be more fun than your average black metal. I think. I think it's gonna have a little more meaning. I don't know. Just to me, it has a story behind it, so that means something. It's a story you could tell your kids.
Did you like the album, Maledictus?
Yeah, I think it was enjoyable. Like it was, like I said, the sound was good. I like what they did. They just really put a lot into this, atmospherically, wall of sound kind of deal. So yeah, that was kind of cool. So yeah, this is different from your average black album coming out today, I think. So.
All right. Well, that was it. Thank you for listening.
And thanks for watching the review. And comment down below, and go to all the links and stuff, and all that stuff. All the Instagrams and the Facebooks. You guys do that. You guys do that. You guys are pretty good at that. So, we'll see you again for the next review. Goodbye.